Don't execute on the idea. Here's my advice. Execute on a plan. A plan is going to take into account risks as well as rewards, right? Hey folks, I'm Colin Richards, president and founder of Lord & Richards, and I am thrilled to be with you on yet another episode of the Lord & Richards Show. And we find ourselves in the middle of a series on what I wish I knew when I was 30. And right now we're talking about 30-year-old or younger business owners making great decisions. And so we're in a kind of a sub-series under that topic. And the topic for today is really about avoiding certain types of risk. And you know, the clients I'm talking to, the people I'm seeing every single day, young and old, we're multi-generational in our practice. Those people are telling me, look, Colin, I'm just concerned that things out of my control like market risk or healthcare or taxes or government decisions, wars, you name it, are going to mess up my retirement. So what we need is help. And that's exactly what we provide. We come alongside of you. A little bit different than a broker, right? Having a broker is like having a pile of wood out in your front lawn. Having Lord & Richards and a team of comprehensive planners is like having a beautiful house you can live in, right? We need the supplies, we need the tools, but then we got to take those tools and put them together into something that makes sense. And so what we do is we come alongside of you and we help you build a plan to achieve financial independence so you can retire without worry. And as business owners, we want you to enjoy and benefit from your business all along the way. Too many businesses end up coming to the end of their business career and having very little to show for it. Or others find themselves taking very little out of the business in the constant rat race of so-called reinvesting in their business. All of these are mistakes, and what we want to do is love and enjoy and benefit from the business as we pursue that calling. And so that's what we do at Lord & Richards. And today I'm focused in particularly on what one of my mentors, Keith Cunningham, really phenomenal speaker and somebody that I've had the privilege of mentoring under, has called the dumb tax. Keith Cunningham calls it the dumb tax in his book, The Road Less Stupid. I know it sounds very insulting, but if you can get past the language, just listen to what this man has to say, because this man is a serial entrepreneur, very successful. He's spoken on stages with men like Tony Robbins, and he has great advice to offer you and me about how to run a business well. What do I mean when I'm talking about the dumb tax? Well, the key, according to Keith, and I believe this, is in order to be successful in business, you do fewer dumb things, as he calls it. You make fewer mistakes, right? And it's not about all home runs. It's about making fewer errors. And there are three common denominators of these kinds of mistakes that we could elevate to the level of a dumb tax. Keith put it this way when I last met. He said, if I could unwind three of my worst business or financial decisions, what would be the difference in my wealth today? Oh, wow, that is a great question. It's a little introspective, and we don't want to dwell on the past unnecessarily. But here's the things that typically lead to those kinds of mistakes. Number one, excessive enthusiasm. Failing to realize that our bubbly enthusiasm over a new idea, what others call the entrepreneurial seizure, right? When you awaken in the middle of the night and you've got an idea for the most technically advanced sock or the world's greatest hot dog or whatever it is excessive enthusiasm causes us to overlook things that might get in the way of the success of this idea. So don't execute on the idea. Here's my advice. Execute on a plan. A plan is going to take into account risks as well as rewards, right? And don't forget to take into account second-order consequences. What do I mean by that? These are the subsequent ripples on the lake after you throw the rock in. What's going to happen when you spend money on this? Is it going to be taken from this, and so forth? Number two, in addition to excessive enthusiasm, business owners make these terrible mistakes we call dumb taxes on unexamined assumptions, failing to look at what they're assuming and assume that it might be wrong, right? Unexamined assumptions are just the kind of gleeful optimistic, happy view that because this is a great idea, it's certainly going to go well, and we make assumptions about how it's going to go, and we fail to make plans for what if it goes differently. And then number 3, ignoring risk. Ignoring risk. You can see these are all related, and they all have to do with kind of that happy-go-lucky entrepreneur that is not looking at risk. Howard Marks said in his book, The Most Important Thing, he said this: the less risk you perceive, the more risk there is. Here it is again. The less risk you perceive, the more risk there is. What does that mean? Well, imagine you perceive that it's highly unlikely you'll get in a car accident, and so you choose not to wear a seatbelt. You perceive less risk, therefore you take greater risk in your behavior, right? Business owners do this all the time, assuming that they just can't fail. A lot of them feel like they have the Midas touch or whatever. Investing dollars, potentially losing dollars because they did not perceive the risk. Here's another great quotation from my friend Keith Cunningham. All my problems started out as a good idea, maybe even my best idea. Folks, we don't want it to be like that for you in business. And you know, something to realize, it's almost impossible to be completely objective, right? It's really hard to step back from your own situation. This is why it's so critical to have an advisor in your life who can bring an objective viewpoint. I remember talking several months ago to a man who just decided he was going to take 1/4 of everything that he had and give it to his brother-in-law to invest in his new venture. And of course, that's excessive enthusiasm. That's failure to consider the consequences of that. That's unexamined assumptions, and that's ignored risk. And the reality is this man may well lose 1/4 of his money and a relationship in the process. How do we get a hold of that? Well, it just starts with a simple phone call and a great team of advisors that want to encircle you and help you develop a plan to achieve success.